Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the November 1st regular council meeting for the City of Dauphin. We acknowledge that the land on which we gather is Treaty 2 land, traditional territory of Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Assiniboine, Dakota, Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. And we affirm our commitment to moving forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in a spirit of collaboration and reconciliation. Moved by Councillor Eilers, seconded by Councillor Juba. Be it resolved that Council accepts the regular meeting agenda as presented. Moved by Councillor Eilers, seconded by, actually, sorry, I got to go back. It's been a while. Any questions or comments regarding the agenda? Call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Eilers, seconded by Councillor Stakilo. Be it resolved that the Council waives the reading and accepts and approves as circulated the minutes of the following meeting, that the one of October 18th, 2021, the regular Council meeting. Any questions or comments there? Councillor Eilers, go ahead.
I made my comments to my report. There was a part missing.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Okay, moved by Councillor Stakilo, seconded by Councillor Eilers. Be it resolved that Council now adjourns to hear the public hearing as scheduled. A conditional use application for 19 Jackson Street. Any questions or comments before we get into the public hearing? Seeing none, I'll call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. It is the public hearing for conditional use application for 19 Jackson Street. Joining the meeting virtually, we've got John Urie, owner and applicant. No objections were received. John, just to make sure you can hear us.
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Council will now commence to hear representations from the applicant and any other persons who wish to make representation for this scheduled public hearing. Anyone who has not yet registered but wishes to make a presentation for the public hearing, please state your name so we can add you to the registration list. I don't see anyone online and nobody here in-house. So we will now proceed with the public hearing for conditional use application 12.08.377-100/CU-21-01/03 for owner and applicant John Urie for part lot 26, plan 2995 DLTO, that's 19 Jackson Street, to allow for construction of a 2,450 square foot single story two-family dwelling in a residential single-family zone to comply with the City of Dauphin zoning bylaw. Would the applicant like to speak in favor of the application? Go ahead, John, if you've got anything to say.
Yes, no, I'm just, yeah, we just completely demolished a house there that was there. That was in really poor shape. And now we just want to continue on building something new. And yeah, these ones will be a little bit different from what we built in the past. I want to build some with garages this time. And yeah, so if you have any questions for me, that'd be great.
Sure. Does council have any questions of the applicant? Seeing none online, none in-house, so we're good. I'm going to assume there isn't, but I'll say, is there any other person present in support of this application who wishes to speak? Is there any person present who wishes to speak in objection to this application? And we'll leave it at that. The representations for the public hearing are now completed. Thanks very much, John.
Yeah, thank you, you guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Moved by Councillor Stakilo, seconded by Councillor Eilers. Be it resolved that Council now reconvenes to the regular Council meeting. Any questions or comments before we get back to it? Seeing none, I'll call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Bellemare, seconded by Councillor Juba. Be it resolved that the public hearing for conditional use application 12.08.377-100/CU-21-01/03 for owner and applicant John Urie for lot 26, plan 2995 DLTO, that's 19 Jackson Street, to allow for construction of a 2,450 square foot single-story two-family dwelling in a residential single-family zone to comply with the City of Dauphin zoning bylaw be now concluded. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call them. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Bellemare, seconded by Councillor Eilers, whereas due notice was given with respect to conditional use application 12.08.37710/CU-21-01/03, and whereas no objections were received to said applicant, be it resolved that conditional use application 12.08.37710/CU-21-01/03 for owner and applicant John Urey for lot 26, plan 2995 DLTO, 19 Jackson Street, to allow for the construction of a 2,450 square foot single-story two-family dwelling in a residential single-family zone to comply with the City of Dauphin zoning bylaw, be approved with the following conditions. Number one, a building permit will be required from the City of Dauphin for the construction of the proposed two-family dwelling, and all construction shall conform to the Manitoba Building Code. Number two, primary access using a lane is permitted. However, no extra lane maintenance or snow clearing is provided other than what is provided as part of the normal operational policies of the City of Dauphin. Number three, the new two-family dwelling unit will require a new utility service branch connection from the main lines to the building. The owner will be responsible for the cost of the service. And number four, lot surface drainage cannot adversely affect the adjacent property. It is recommended that it be done in consultation and cooperation with adjacent property owners. Any questions or comments? None, I'll call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Eilers, seconded by Councillor Juba. Be it resolved that Council accepts as information the presentation by RCMP Staff Sergeant Ray Campbell. Ray, welcome to Council Chambers. I can tell you're extremely excited, so whenever you're ready, take her away. It's the, on the mic, yeah, it's the one with the white line around it. It's a person kind of, yeah, there you go.
Good. This is new since the last time I was here. So yeah, I met with Charlotte at my office approximately a week or better, and I presented her with all my documentation for the quarters from July 1st to September 30th of this year in regards to our policing and our statistics for the area. I'll open it up to the floor for any questions in regards to any of the reports that I've given, if you've all had a chance to look at it. And statistically speaking, I mean, we're in challenging times everywhere. So my challenging right now is manpower, and that seems to be the norm for any business and organization within communities and this public sector. So by all means, I'm here. I'm open to the floor for you people. So
does anyone have any questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Bellemare.
Okay, thank you. People at home don't know what we see, so just mentioning that we actually got 4 reports from our staff sergeant outlining different kinds of information, including occurrence stats like the calls and charges, and all that was very clearly laid out. And a lot of the trends seem to be similar to last year, like the property crimes are going up and the mental health stuff is going up, and some of the personal stuff is going down. A couple of questions. We have some people on maternity and paternity leave. We probably still pay for those, right? Even when they're...
No,
they go
they go on a collator of their own, so they're
okay.
Paid.
So that's not a charge against the city. Okay. Good thing I asked. Okay, and you had mentioned, though our financial guy would have known that because he's on top of all those things. So yeah, okay. I'm still playing catch up on some things. And you'd mentioned that you had the number of prisoners that have been held. And so I'm assuming those would be, well, can you explain what prisoners held means in your stats? Because with the jail closing, that may have made some differences in how you operate. So can you explain that piece to me?
Yes, prisoner held for us is basically just overnight, how can I term it, accommodations to a maybe 2 days. What transpires now, where we used to incarcerate a person for a short time and then take them, you know, a block over to the jail, which was next door to the courthouse. That obviously with the jail closing doesn't happen now. So we inevitably remand prisoners. So if we keep anybody, the length of time usually is the weekend at the longest, but sometimes we transport in if the sheriffs cannot, because sheriffs obviously do not work weekends. So basically it's just an overnight accommodations. What we'll do is we'll remand a prisoner if they are to go to incarceration for longer, and we get a hold of the sheriff's agency. The sheriffs will then next day usually pick up and that person and transport them down to Winnipeg to prison.
Thank you. And okay, I think that was all that I wanted to ask at that time. Oh, I know what I was. We've been encouraging people to call. So if something happens, you know, there's vandalism, there's graffiti, whatever, we keep encouraging people to call. So are your call numbers going up? Is that working, or do we need to keep reminding people to call?
I believe it still needs to be a reminder for people. I mean, I understand something petty to them that maybe not worth calling is not in the big picture. Something that might happen there might happen down the street, and we can get a pattern. We can, you know, assess a time frame, what kind of items are being stolen. It all adds up. It might be minuscule to one person, but in the big scheme of things, it's better to report and to know what is happening within our community.
Thank you.
Councillor Eilers.
Thank you for your report. I just can't locate it on my pad right now, but I wanted to ask you, there was a number of calls, mental wellness, that you had, and I was comparing them to the city and the RM, and there didn't appear to be many from the RM. Is that really the case, or is it because they are already in Dauphin? How do you compile those stats?
Yes, statistically, it more or less is where the call comes from. Like within the RM, if we have somebody call, then, you know, we certainly go out to that location and deal with it. But if they're at the Dauphin Hospital, certainly they're within the city of Dauphin. So if that call comes directly from the hospital for us for a mental health patient transport per se, then yeah, that statistic will be higher here because our main hospital is here. Although Grandview does have one, but their capacity to hold anybody or within that kind of health issue is more likely to be in Dauphin.
I thought the number was 88. I think that's what I remember. I had it circled. You can check, because I don't have it. And I believe that it was quite a large number.
Yes, actually 78 is
or 78.
I got here in for the city, and for the rural for that same amount of time frame is 22.
Yeah.
So for sure, yeah. I mean, but that call can be from any necessarily mental health can be a call that we receive, but we certainly do not respond. Somebody that is just reaching out or is having, you know, an issue within them personal or breakdown or something, and we receive a call as a mental health, then we have to score it as that. Certainly within the city, we're going to see more because obviously the population here compared to our rural population is a lot larger, and people use this as our major trading center, so they're here. And you know that we have some housing issues in some places there, that there's certainly people that are living there that are less fortunate that cause that problem. But I mean, as an example for this morning, we got a call right first thing this morning from the hospital asking us to transport somebody down to Brandon. So under the Mental Health Act, we transport.
Do you feel this is quite a large time that is committed by your force to deal with these issues? Do you have numbers in that respect?
I don't have statistical numbers, but it is. It certainly, like today, we have a contingent amount of members that are working for my day shift, and we have to cut one person loose that day today, for example, to run the person down to Brandon and drive that back. So we've lost that person for at least 4 hours, 5 hours minimum in order to get that person back here in town. So it causes a resourcing issue. And unfortunately, I've reached out to some people that I know within the, within the provincial government, and it's certainly being looked at, but it is a strain within our own organization to transport prisoners that when it takes the resource out of our community.
I just as a suggestion, because we have been lobbying for more help in this area, do you think that it would be very cumbersome for you to actually have numbers like today? You can say 5 hours, but you're not sure if it's 5 hours or less or more. Do you think it would be something that you could compile? It would certainly help in lobbying for more help in this area.
Yeah, certainly we do some type of that statistical keeping. I just don't have it in front of me, but we can certainly dig deeper and peel the onion, you'd say, and gather better statistics for you for sure.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
Any other questions or comments? No. Thank you, Ray, very much for the report. Did want to mention too about the drug bust. Thanks very much for all the work you guys do in the community.
Yeah, our crime reduction team is certainly busy here.
Yeah.
We'll have a discussion on that, I'm sure.
Yeah. Thanks very much for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Any other, no more questions or comments, so I'll move the comments. All in favor of the report? Motion carried. Thanks again, Ray. Moved by Councillor Bellemare, seconded by Councillor Eilers. Be it resolved that all items under item 5 consent agenda be approved as follows and form part of these minutes. 5A, action items, the Proclamation, Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Whereas domestic violence is prevalent across all ethnic, racial, age, social, and economic groups and occurs regardless of marital status or sexual orientation. And whereas the Parkland Crisis Center and Women's Shelter opened its doors in Dauphin on October 31st, 1992 to provide alternatives to violent living for women and their children fleeing domestic abuse and or family violence. And whereas through the provision of emergency shelter counseling, education, and advocacy, the Parkland Crisis Center and Women's Shelter strives to empower abuse survivors to make positive life changes. And whereas in 2020-2021, the Parkland Crisis Center and Women's Shelter provided safe emergency residential shelter services to 984 women and their children experiencing domestic or family violence and received approximately 1,400 crisis line calls. And whereas the City of Dauphin commends the Parkland Crisis Center and Women's Shelter and other public and private entities that strive to end the cycle of violence in homes and communities across the Parkland. Now, therefore, we, the Council of the City of Dauphin, do hereby proclaim November 2021 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And that as recommended by the Deputy Mayor and City Manager. Number 2 on the consent agenda under A, outstanding receivable account added to taxes. Be it resolved that the following receivable account be added to taxes. That is 118 6th Avenue Northeast, $552.50 for weed control costs. And that is recommended by the Director of Finance and the Tax Clerk. Under 5B, filing items. Number 1, Association of Manitoba Municipalities News Bulletin for October 22nd of 2021. FCM, Federation of Canadian Municipalities, FCM Connect for October 19th and the 26th. Number 3, Municipal Relations, consultation on modernization of the Municipal Board Planning Appeals process, COVID-19 update for municipalities, and recent amendments to the Planning Act and City of Winnipeg Charter Act. Number 4, Manitoba News Release, province proclaims legislative amendments to modernize, streamline municipal planning processes. Number 5, Canadian National Railway CEO John Jacks risks retirement. Number 6, Canadian National Railway appointment to Board of Directors. Number 7, Prairie Mountain Health flu shot and COVID vaccine clinics for November of 2021. Number 8, Parkland Chamber of Commerce update. Number 9, Community Futures Parkland newsletter for October of 2021. Number 10, Mountain View School Division News Digest for October 25th. Number 11, Manitoba Public Utilities Board news release for October 26th. Number 12, Office of the Lieutenant Governor news release, October 28th. And number 13, Manitoba Association of Watersheds newsletter for October 2021. And that is recommended by the Deputy Mayor and the City Manager. Any questions or comments regarding those items?
One question.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Bellemare.
The weed control costs, what all went into that total?
So that's a property that is on our tax sale list as well. And so the taxes have not been paid for 3 years, and there's no one to maintain the grass. So it was all of the grass maintenance for the summer of 2021.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Eilers, seconded by Councillor Juba. Be it resolved that Council accepts as information the following corporate report for the November 1st, 2021 regular council meeting and that of the City Manager. Take it away, City Manager.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. It's been a couple weeks since our last meeting, and it's been a busy couple weeks. There have been no changes to the public health orders that affect city operations, so there will be no changes to any of our operations. Second thing I report about is the Dauphin Airport. On October 19th, we performed a live test of the emergency plans for both the airport and the municipality. We simulated a plane crash on the taxiway at the Dauphin Airport, where the co-pilot was physically able to walk away from the crash and did, and the pilot was pinned inside, and both played those roles really well. Dauphin Fire Department, RCMP, and ambulance service participated and tended to the scene in their usual fashion. The airport manager worked through the airport's emergency plan regarding notifications, escorting responding organizations to and from the site, the crash site, and updating the accountable executive. The Municipal Emergency Coordinator opened the Emergency Operations Center and walked through the municipal emergency plan. We do note that for a plane crash with 2 people, the Municipal Emergency Operations Center would not normally be opened, but this was a way that we could just test the opening of it, test the process, and help us to learn how that process goes in a mock situation. We did include the RM of Dauphin's CAO as the Public Information Officer, or PIO. That role would normally be mine as city manager, but because this was an airport emergency, I had the role of accountable executive. Again, because we were testing this was something that we just thought, let's bring in as many people as possible to walk through the scenario and try on their hats. The RM of Dauphin CAO is also there, Public Information Officer, and in situations where they would have an emergency and their operation center would be enacted, they would, Ms. Nicole Chakota would play that role there. So it's great that we're able to go back and forth. Also, as part of the plan, if it did not include the airport, and I was the Public Information Officer, but it was a long-standing emergency, we do have it listed that we would cover each other off. So if they have a long emergency, I could cover off for her. If we have a long emergency, she could cover off for us. So that's great to have the support from the RM. Also present at our exercise was a representation from the Manitoba Emergency Measures Office, or EMO. After the exercise, all organizations provided feedback during a debrief. And this is the first time we'd done an actual test or mock exercise in a number of years, and we all agreed that it went well. We agreed that the tests are something that we need to do regularly, not just because the Act says we need to, but because they're valuable in training personnel to respond to emergencies. And I wanted to, again, give a special thanks to the Dauphin Fire Department individuals who played the roles of pilot and co-pilot. There's a video clip of that that was taken by the Dauphin Fire Department, and the trapped pilot was in pain and letting everybody know for the entire entire session. She must have had a hoarse voice after all of that, but she definitely, I think, helped to make it very real. Next is Manitoba Municipal Relations engagement session regarding financial COVID impacts on municipalities. Virtually, I met with several representatives of Manitoba Municipal Relations to provide some answers to them regarding financial impacts of COVID on our municipality. I did note that we did include Dauphin Rec Services in that survey, despite them being separate from us in terms of our financials. Municipal Relations was looking for the type of impacts that happened to municipal services, recreation being one of them. The categories of questions included revenue and expenses that were related to COVID, that being what cost did the municipality incur, what was the ongoing lost revenue, and when do we expect to recover. Another set talked about the federal restart funding and what did our municipality do with it, and what's the current state of our municipal operations, closed, opened, or partially opened. And to note, we were selected as one of a representative sample of municipalities. Manitoba Municipal Relations did not contact all 137 municipalities in the province. Next thing I talk about is the Watson Arts Centre and City of Dauphin Liaison Committee meeting, something that we started, I was going to say last fall. So yeah, it's been good getting together with that group a couple times or 3 times that we've done it. Our last meeting was on October 27th, and we talked about some of the improvements. We reviewed the construction improvement projects at the Watson Arts Centre, the building itself. We reviewed them with a lens of priority, responsibility, and programming year. We concluded the meeting by identifying any projects that could still happen in 2021 with existing funding, which projects would be programmed for 2022, which could be done in 2023 and beyond. We also discussed funding methods, including, already applied for grants. And so there was an accessibility grant that the Watson Arts Centre applied for the, the front area for better accessibility. So we're really hoping to get that. And we will be discussing these projects with Council at the upcoming 2022 capital and large project planning meeting that we have at the beginning of December. Next one was a Protective Services Committee meeting with the town of Swan River. So that was the next day, October 28th. Protective Services Committee met with representatives of the town of Swan River, being their mayor, one of their councillors, and their CAO. Swan River called the meeting to reintroduce ourselves because we haven't seen them in about a year and a half out and about in our community, to discuss community issues like crime, homelessness, RCMP, programming, different programs that are available, when I mean programming, and some government funding, and to share ideas to work through how we can help each other, or how are we individually working through our issues. So town of Swan River is just under half of the population of Dauphin, but they have many of the same issues that we have. And it was great to see that they have some support systems in Swan River that Dauphin can learn from. And we concluded our meeting by indicating that we'll see each other at AMM, and perhaps we'll set up another meeting to firm up some ideas of how we can work together. And last, much of my time, actually in the last 2 weeks, have been dealing with some human resource issues. I can't share those publicly, but I am pleased that we're making some really great progress on the recruitment of our economic development manager. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, City Manager. Any questions or comments regarding that report? Councillor Eilers.
I just wanted to ask, you said we were selected as one representative sample of the municipalities. How many were engaged? Do you know?
They never said. I did ask if they were contacting them all, and they said no, it's just a representative sample. So that's something I can ask. I still have their contact information if you want to know.
Yeah, because it concerns me. Sometimes you select a group. I've been involved in that, and you find that there's a lot of negative. Sometimes you get where you have all positive comments, and then you find out that, there was other underlying problems that we didn't identify. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what we did. They sent the questions first, and I worked with the Director of Finance to give some answers. Some were numbers related, some were, just more word answers. And from the meeting, then they had a few further questions, but everything from the meeting showed that it was more of a survey than specifically looking into a municipality and their, doing an audit or anything like that. But I can definitely ask.
I was just saying that, just ask what the sample size was. That
Sounds
would be,
good.
out of 140, are you only talking to 4? Or are you talking to 40 sort
Yeah.
of thing?
Okay. Good question. Thanks.
Councillor Bellemare.
First of all, I'd like to thank the city manager for all the work that she's done on the airport. I know that there was a lot of paperwork and all that kind of stuff that you've been working on cleaning up over the last couple of years, and doing this emergency planning is a really good way to move this operation forward and just make sure that everything is in place that needs to be in place. My question is this: the website was mentioned in a couple of reports, and I know that we were on hold because we were waiting for the branding from tourism and COVID and all that kind of stuff. And so now is the time to move forward. What kind of timeline are we looking at for this thing to be live for our citizens?
We are in the planning process right now with the provider, and the timeline is for it to be launched. I'm going to say end of this year, beginning of next year. We want to finish all of the work at the end of this year. As you know, with the holidays and whatnot around Christmas, it might not be live January 1st, but it's coming in the next couple months.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Juba, you had your hand up. I don't know if you still have a question or not.
Yeah, further to Councillor Bellemare's remarks about the airport authority, I just want to thank Charlotte again for leading the charge on the exercise at the airport. It's important that that procedure is exercised. My question, or like I already know the answer to this question, but for the public's sake, if you explain to the public what the council's responsibility would be if there was a real emergency. Maybe you can enlighten us a bit on that, City Manager.
Certainly. So council always, in any kind of emergency, would be kept informed by the Public Information Officer, PIO, and briefed if there had to be any decisions made outside of what is outlined in our emergency plan. Also, if the municipality needs to issue or declare a local state of emergency, that is something that needs to be done by a resolution. So council would call a special council meeting, pass that resolution, and then those special powers would come into force so that we could continue to deal with the emergency.
Thank you.
Devin, you're the last one, so I'll ask you if you got any questions or comments.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. No, I do not at this time.
Okay, thanks, Devin. Call the questions then. All in favor of the city manager's report? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Bellemare, seconded by Councillor Eilers. Be it resolved that the council accepts as information the following corporate report for the November 1st, 2021 regular council meeting, that of the ICT manager. Any questions or comments regarding that report? Seeing none, I'll call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Eilers, seconded by Councillor Juba. Be it resolved that the finance accounts have been examined by council and be hereby authorized and approved as follows. Check totals 28,811 to 28,859. It's 49 checks totaling $260,580.06. No voided checks in the current range, no voided checks in past ranges, and no electronic payments. Any questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Eilers.
I just wanted to query there's 28838, and it's embroidery by design, and it says face masks for events. Can you tell me how many and what it actually is for?
So that was ordered by the fire department, and so I can ask the fire department those details.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Just seeing none, I'll call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Bellemare, seconded by Councillor Juba. Be it resolved that Council accepts as information the minutes and reports from the following committee meetings. Number one, Intermountain Watershed District regular board meetings for September 10th of this year. Number two, Communities in Bloom regular board meeting for September the 23rd of 2021. And number three, the Fort Dauphin Museum Annual Report for 2020, Statement of Financial Position, December 31st, 2020, regular board meeting, September 1st of 2021, Annual General Meeting of October 6th, Manager's Report for October 6th, Profit and Loss, Budget versus Actual for January 1st to October 6th, 2021, Balance Sheet, Previous Year Comparison as of October 6th, 2021, Profit and Loss, Budget Overview, January to December of 2021. Any questions or comments there? Call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Eiler, seconded by Councillor Juba, whereas on July 12th, 2019, the City of Dauphin issued an order to demolish the fire-damaged dwelling at 108 3rd Avenue Northeast. And whereas the new owner, John Trevor Campbell, appealed the order to demolish, and through correspondence dated November 29th, 2019, Council granted time to repair the dwelling, with construction to be completed within 1 year of the building permit being issued. And whereas through correspondence dated January 5th, 2021, Mr. Campbell requested an extension to complete the required repairs, citing delays due to COVID-19, and Council approved an extension to October 31st, 2021 to complete all repairs required to restore the dwelling to code. Be it resolved that Council accepts this information correspondence dated October 29th, 2021 from John Trevor Campbell requesting an additional extension to fulfill requirements for this dwelling and outlining the demolition, remediation, and repairs completed to date. Further, be it resolved, Council accepts this information a memorandum dated October 29th, 2021 from the Deputy City Manager, noting the efforts that Mr. Campbell has made to date and recommending that the issue be discussed at the Strategic Planning and Priorities Committee meeting of November 29th, 2021, at which time updated photos and other supporting documentation could be reviewed. Further, be it resolved that Council agrees with the Deputy City Manager's recommendation and approves that the request for an extension on the order to demolish the fire damaged structure at 108 3rd Avenue Northeast be discussed at the Strategic Planning and Priorities Committee meeting happening on November 29th, 2021. Any questions or comments regarding this? Seeing none, I'll call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Juba, seconded by Councillor Stakilo, whereas the passing of Alan Dauphin on September 21st, 2021 created a vacancy for the position of Mayor of the City of Dauphin, and whereas correspondence dated October 15th, 2021 from the Minister of Municipalities Relations granted the City of Dauphin's request to forego a municipal by-election to fill the vacancy due to public health concerns related to the COVID-19 pandemic as per order number 318-2021 of the Emergency Measures Act. And whereas section 105(2) of the Municipal Act states if the position of head of council becomes vacant and a by-election is not required under subsection 1 and by extension order number 318-2021 of the Emergency Measures Act, the council may appoint one of their number as the head of council. And be it resolved that council appoints Christian Laughlin as the mayor of the City of Dauphin. Any questions or comments? Call the questions. All in favor? Okay. All in favor? Councillor Eiler's called a recorded vote, so all in favor. 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Stakilo, seconded by Councillor Bellemare. Whereas the appointment of Christian Lachlan as mayor created a vacancy for the position of deputy mayor, be it resolved that council appoints Rodney Juba as the deputy mayor of the city of Dauphin, effective immediately until December 31st, 2021. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Eilers, seconded by Councillor Juba. Be it resolved that council approves the following council and staff members as signing authorities for the city of Dauphin: Mayor Christian Lachlan, Deputy Mayor Rodney Juba, Councillor Patty Eilers, City Manager Charlotte Griffiths, Deputy City Manager Lisa Gaudette, and Director of Finance Scott Carr. Any questions or comments? Call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Bellemare, seconded by Councillor Juba. Whereas due to two recent vacancies on council, mayor and council reviewed the council committee and board appointments for the remainder of the 2021 term. Be it resolved that council approves the schedule, committee, and board appointments for the remainder of 2021 as per attached Schedule A. Do I need to run through all these, or can I direct people? They're on our website, so just a few changes with things that have changed on council. So Dauphin.ca if you want to check them out. Any questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Eilers.
Yes, on the Community Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Board, that's blank. Was that not filled? I thought we had decided.
So to date, it has not been something that's added to the organizational bylaw. So we've been doing our preliminary work. We just the policy that we're going through with the terms of reference. Once that is finalized, then we can put the names in there.
Okay, I was just wondering because there's been
we've been
several
doing work
meetings.
on it, certainly.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, all in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Eilers, seconded by Councillor Juba. Be resolved that council accepts this information correspondence dated October 12, 2021 from Lori Hickaway, Administrator for the Intermountain Watershed District, regarding the City of Dauphin's appointees for the Vermilion River Sub-District. And further be it resolved that council reappoints Patty Eilers and Jim Heshka as the city's representatives for the Intermountain Watershed District, Vermilion River Sub-District for a one-year term starting December 1st, 2021. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Bellemare, seconded by Councillor Stakilo. Whereas the City of Dauphin Social Media Policy 3.5 provides guidelines for the use of the city's social media channels for corporate purposes. Be it resolved that council accepts this information Social Media Policy 3.51, which updates the scope of the policy to incorporate personal use of social media by city employees, and a memorandum dated October 20th, 2021 from the Deputy City Manager recommending the adoption of the updated Social Media Policy 3.51. Further be it resolved that council approves Social Media Policy 3.51. Any questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Bellemare.
Just that I know that there are other municipalities in our region that are also looking at making similar kinds of changes to their policy. So this is becoming quite common. So.
Anything else, question or comment wise? Seeing none, I'll call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Eilers, seconded by Councillor Juba. Whereas the federal government and the National Police Federation negotiated RCMP pay increases totaling more than 23% over the 6-year period retroactive to 2017, and whereas Manitoba has 40 municipalities with RCMP contracts via federal and provincial agreements, but municipalities were not included in these negotiations, and the Association of Manitoba Municipalities is lobbying to give voice to municipal concerns regarding the unsustainable burden incurred by these unionization costs. And whereas the City of Dauphin's estimated share of these costs would be a retroactive payment of $377,685 in addition to our regular policing costs of $1.78 million, and this retroactive payment alone is equivalent to 6% of the city's net municipal taxes. Be it resolved that Council accepts this information, a memorandum dated October 22nd, 2021 from the Deputy City Manager outlining a more than 23% increase to RCMP salaries retroactive to 2017, and noting that the Association of Manitoba Municipalities has provided a template letter to be utilized by impacted municipalities to direct their concerns regarding this increase to the Federal Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness, requesting that any retroactive pay increases negotiated by the federal government be fully absorbed by the federal government. Further, be it resolved that Council authorizes the Mayor to sign the prepared letter to be sent to the Federal Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness in support of the AMM's lobbying efforts on behalf of municipalities in this matter. Any questions or comments? Councillor Bellemare.
Just a comment. I mean, you've mentioned the Dauphin situation, and the resolution mentions what's happening in Manitoba, but this is across Canada kind of thing. I keep reading news stories that every province is struggling with this whole thing of this big lump sum that we're being asked to pay, plus the increased cost going forward. So yes, it is expensive. So I support the resolution, as you'll see. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Juba, seconded by Councillor Eilers. Be it resolved that Council accepts this information correspondence dated October 21st, 2021 from Maxwell Jordan, support worker for Housing First, Northwest Métis Council Incorporated, requesting that the City of Dauphin provide a letter supporting Housing First application to Brandon Neighborhood Renewal Corporation for grant funding to provide critical resources for people experiencing homelessness in our community, including hampers of food and hygiene products, warm jackets, hats, mittens, sleeping bags, and blankets to help fund a van for the transport of hampers to their recipients and individuals to important service locations, and to enable the replacement of their LED sign at 505 Main Street South in Dauphin, which would act as a visible means to advertise important information, including food bank and under one roof service times and contact information for emergency services. Further, be it resolved that Council commends Housing First for their dedication to taking practical steps to address the challenges faced by Dauphin's vulnerable populations, and authorizes administration to provide a letter supporting Housing First's application to Brandon Neighborhood Renewal Corporation for grant funding to support a much-needed response to homelessness in our community. Any questions or comments? Councillor Eilers.
I think this is a really important service, and I fully support this. I didn't know who they were applying to, because in the letter that we had gotten, it doesn't say that it's Brandon Neighborhood Renewal, so that was going to be one of my questions. But I feel that this is really important, especially with winter coming. We've already had several issues, so I think this should be fully supported. We have to have something in place to assist with these people in need. So I commend them for looking for grant money to, deal with the situations.
Any other questions or comments? I'll call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Eilers, seconded by Councillor Bellemare. Be it resolved that bylaw 08/2021, being a bylaw of the City of Dauphin to prescribe fees, fines, and charges for municipal services, be now read a first time. Any questions or comments? Call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Juba, seconded by Councillor Eilers. Be it resolved that bylaw 09/2021, being a bylaw of the City of Dauphin to establish and regulate a code of conduct for members' council, be now read a first time. Any questions or comments? And call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Stakilo, seconded by Councillor Eilers. Whereas on April 20th, 2020, Council gave third reading to Bylaw 07/2020, being a bylaw of the City of Dauphin for the purpose of imposing a tax on accommodations to support tourism, economic development, recreation, and active living, with an effective date of January 1st, 2021, and hereby attached is as Schedule B. And whereas bylaw 07/2020 received approval by the Minister of Finance via order in Council number 139/2021, dated April 21st, 2021, hereby attached is Schedule C. And whereas in correspondence dated April 28th, 2021, the Minister of Finance approved bylaw 07/2020 to come into effect in the first month after the lifting of the provincial state of emergency currently in place due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas the provincial state of emergency referenced above expired at 4 p.m. on October 21st, 2021, as per the Province of Manitoba news release dated October 21st, 2021, hereby attached as Schedule D. Be it resolved that bylaw 10/2021, being a bylaw of the City of Dauphin to amend accommodation tax bylaw 07/2020 for the purpose of imposing a tax on accommodation to support tourism, economic development, recreation, and active living, which repeals the effective date of January 1st, 2021, and replaces it with the new effective date of January 1st, 2022, be now read a first time. Any questions or comments? Councillor Bellemare.
Okay, we've had lots of meetings about this, and because we've been waiting this for a long, long time. So at what point do the hoteliers be informed that this is coming? Do we wait till after second and third, or are they going to come on board now, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we've already met with them as we remember, but that was a better part of a couple years ago. So the information is out, and I have been speaking actually to a couple hoteliers more informally to say it's coming. We're starting in the new year. So our director of finance will be working with the hoteliers in terms of the forms and the processes and that kind of thing. And then to speak a little bit about the money when it's gathered. The way that the bylaw is set up is that the money is gathered in 1 year and then spent in the next year. And we'll be working with the Economic Development Board and the Dauphin Rec Services, as well as council, to determine methods of or ways to spend it.
Thank you.
Councillor Eilers.
Is there a letter being sent to them previous? Because if it's January 1st, is there been a letter crafted already to send, or?
Not yet crafted, but in the works.
Do you have a timeline?
So the third reading, this bylaw will get third reading on November 15th. So the week of the 15th is my guess. So that would be 6 months before they have to start collecting. Or 6 weeks. 6 weeks before they start collecting. Yeah.
January 1st, 2022 is not 6 months away. Yeah. So thank you for that.
Any other questions or comments? Call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Bellemare, seconded by Councillor Eilers. Be it resolved that Council accepts as information the invitations and community events listed below. Invitations, the Royal Canadian Legion Remembrance Day service happening, of course, on November 11th. Number 2, Mountain View School Division 2022-2023 preliminary budget consultation that's happening on November 15th, 2021. For community events, the Grandview Fire Department's fundraising barbecue going down on November 4th, 2021, and the Remembrance Day service, of course, on November 11th, 2021. Any questions or comments there? I'll make a quick question. You might not know the answer to this, but is that Remembrance Day service going to take place at Credit Union Place, or is it COVID affected again?
Yes, it is taking place at Credit Union Place. Double vaccination is required for everyone attending, and that will be at 10:45 with the usual service at the Cenotaph at noon.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Bellemare.
Do people need to wear masks as well?
Yes, masks are mandatory, yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'll call the questions then. All in favor? Motion carried. Okay, councillor privileges. We'll start in-house today. And I'll go to my left this time, Councillor Eilers.
Thank you. Since October 18th, our regular city council meeting, on October 20th, I had employee relations, an interview panel that we conducted. On October 21st, we conducted a Communities in Bloom planning meeting. And you can see where my mind, I put planting, getting ready for next year. October 25th, planning and priority meeting. On the 26th of October, info meeting with Web Canoe. And October 27th, we worked on updates and pricing of the CIB info document. And I just wanted to end on October 31st. We had high numbers of dressed up children out for Halloween treats. It was really nice to hear all the laughter and see all the ones dressed up. And I want to give a big thank you to my 3 neighbors across the road on Kirby Avenue West for their efforts, decorations. That was quite the showstopper. Both adults and youngsters were delighted with their displays, and it's the first time I ran out of treats. I was set up for 150, and I usually get around 90 to 100, and I had to say I ran out. So that's a good thing and a bad thing, I guess. And I want to do many thanks to our Parkland Humane Society Director, Wendy Ofren, for her dedication to saving over 1,000 cats. Happy retirement, and I'm sorry to hear that you are relocating, but best wishes in your next adventure. And I want to offer condolences to Peggy Lewandowski's family on her passing. She was a very dedicated teacher at Ecole McNeil, who I had the pleasure of meeting through many of my CIB activities. And all I have to say is much too young. And that ends my report.
Thank you, Councillor Eilers. Councillor Bellmer.
Thank you. On October 26th, I had 2 meetings at the Watson Arts Centre. The morning meeting was the liaison meeting that the city manager talked about. We talked about upcoming capital costs and did some inspecting of areas of concern in the building. The evening meeting was a regular board meeting, first time we've met in quite a while. Everyone had to produce their vaccine certificate to participate in these events within the building as per WAC board policy. Plus, we wore masks as we arrived and left and stayed socially distant during those meetings. So they're happening, but happening safely. On the 26th, we met with the leader of the official opposition, Wab Canoe. He wanted to touch base after we had lost our Mayor Dauphin. Councillors discussed areas of concern plus current initiatives and sought Mr. Canoe's input on various items as well. So thank you, Mr. Canoe, for reaching out to us. On October 27th, I attended the regular RM liaison meeting, and there is a project that you'll be hearing more about that involves the industrial park. And on October 28th, I attended the Protective Services meeting with Swan River that the city manager mentioned. And congratulations to Christian being selected as our new mayor to lead our council until the election next year. In his role as deputy mayor, Christian has demonstrated many skills, and I'm looking forward to working with him in his new role. And also congrats to our new deputy mayor, Juba. Rodney has many years of council experience, and he brings many good ideas to the table. Together, this team has already accomplished many goals this term, and I'm looking forward to completing the home stretch together. And this week was the last week, or I guess last week was the last week for pickup for green bins, so you can store them until spring. And some COVID-safe community events that I've attended, the WAC again. They received an award for their big brick chimney on the west side. And in that chimney, there are chimney swifts. Those are birds that come there during the summer months. And it's an endangered bird. And that is why they got that award, to acknowledge that that chimney is there and providing safety for them. There's actually 4 chimneys in our community where this is happening, where they're nesting. Later this week, the Rotary Book Sale at Under One Roof, which is a new location, Thursday to Saturday from 10 to 7. And you must be vaccinated to attend. And on Saturday, the fire trucks are coming with my supper. So you can book your supper for the fundraiser for the firefighters. and they will deliver it to your door between 4 and 7 p.m. It's a $25 Ukrainian platter by Irving's. And just an observation, in our news digest this week from the school division, they have 2 vacancies on their school board. They won't be holding by-elections either. So both the school board and council will head to the polls in October 2022 to select their next teams. So start thinking about whether these are areas where you have an interest in serving. And finally, a big thank you to Peter Nadolny for all that you do at the WAC and our community. Peter is the center coordinator at the WAC, and he very ably runs the office there, overseeing renovations. They had a big flood there last winter. He oversees building maintenance, taking bookings, applying for grants, doing all the office details. Plus, he's a very talented artist in his own right, with both artistic and technical skills that he contributes to various productions. So thank you, Peter. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councillor Bellemare. Councillor Stikilo.
Thank you, Mayor Lachlan. For myself, regular council meeting on October 18th, and I was in attendance for the Planning and Priorities meeting on October 25th. Unfortunately, just due to scheduling conflict, I wasn't able to attend the meeting with Wob Canoe, but just want to express my my appreciation for Mr. Canoe coming to our community and having a chat with council on priorities and some concerns that we have. So that thanks for that. One of the benefits of going after Councillor Bellemare is she's highlighted most of the upcoming community events, so I don't have to go through them. But it would have been nice knowing that prior, and I wouldn't have had to write them all out, but that's okay. So with that, I'll keep it short today, and that ends my report. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stikilo. Deputy Mayor Juba.
Thank you, Mayor Lachlan. First of all, I want to open my remarks by congratulating you on your new position with council. As mentioned before, you will lead us through until next October, and I know that you have a lot of leadership skills that you have learned, and I look forward to serving you as well as the rest of the council till then. So my report is actually short. I attended and I did most of these meetings, in fact, all of them by Microsoft Media or by Zoom. So October the 18th, I attended the regular city council meeting. October 25th, I attended the planning and priorities meeting. I was in attendance and met with Wob Canoe. There was a lot of excellent ideas shared with Mr. Canoe. On October the 28th, I attended the Protective Services Committee meeting with the town of Swan River, also with our administrators in attendance, and want to thank them for staying late in the evening with us to guide us through those meetings. As mentioned before, a lot of good ideas were shared, and looking forward to future meetings. October the 19th, I was unable to attend the Michief Children's Place, making it the first Métis Child Care Center in Dauphin here. I want to congratulate their organization for opening up this wonderful daycare center and daycare spaces. The facility looks nice on Main Street, and for many years it will serve our community. I want to thank the community for keeping the children safe last night on Halloween. I wasn't in town for Halloween, but I understand from other councillors' reports that other reports that I got, my neighbors were telling me that they ran out of treats a couple of times, and so that bodes well that activities are slowly coming forward in our community. And I really, it was really, like, from what I've seen, was a fine evening of trick-or-treating. So back to your Mayor Lachlan.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Juba. For myself, a regular council meeting on October 18th here at City Hall. On the 19th, I attended the Northwest Métis Council's Michief Children's Place grand opening. Just an excellent facility there. And I commended them for getting that building up. I think it was just over or just under a year, but amazing stuff. And obviously they're working on their building just down the street as well for their offices. On Thursday, the 21st, Community in Bloom, or sorry, before I get to that, I did attend the Handy Van board meeting that evening on the 19th as well. It was my first Handy Van board meeting, and I reiterated to that group, a very good group of people, I reiterated that council completely respects and is grateful for what they do in our community for a lot of people. And again, I wanted to reiterate Al's message as well, that we support them greatly. Communities in Bloom meeting on the 21st. That was a 2-hour meeting for budget purposes and all that sort of stuff. On the 26th, I attended the meeting with NDP leader Wab Canoe, just reiterating what other councillors said. It was nice to see him come up here and speak with us and engage us. It was just good to have that conversation with a party leader of the province. The next day, on the 27th, I attended Dauphin Rec Services meeting that morning, and then a little later on in the morning, the RM liaison meeting here at City Hall. Lots of good discussion at both meetings. And then the next day, on the 28th, just like City Manager Charlotte Griffiths had mentioned, we attended the Protective Services meeting with the town of Swan River. Some good back and forth discussion there regarding things going on in both our communities. Thanks to them they were kind of the ones that got the ball rolling with that. So just thanks again to them for setting that all up. This afternoon, around noon, I had the employee relations meeting here at City Hall, and that pretty much does it for me. I do want to say thank you to most of council for supporting me as being mayor for the city of Dauphin. I do want to say that my plan is not to be mayor after this term. I know Al Dohan very well. I knew him very well even before I got on council, and he was one of the reasons why I got into council. And I think I have a really good feel of his vision. So yeah, I just want to see that finished between now and October, and then we'll look and go forward from there. But I just wanted to bridge the gap between the time now and the end of this term. So thank you, council, for your support, and thank you to the people of Dauphin for your support as well. And with that being said, moved by Councillor Stakilo, seconded by Councillor Juba, be it resolved that the council meeting be recessed at 6:08.